Well, Kathy and I would like to thank everyone for coming here tonight up in Topsfield. Some of you come from the West Coast, and we really appreciate it. I think it's a real tribute to Brian and Kristin. Well, this is it. Make no mistake about it. Kenny Loggins. You know, the first time I met Brian, there were two qualities that were so eminent. He was benevolent and noble. Those of you who know him, he is the kindest individual I've met in my life, bar none. His qualities are all about his integrity, and he believes his values in a true sense. After I got to know him a while, I realized he was interesting and adventurous. We had conversations many times, and he could talk about anything. He loves to surf. He loves to snowboard. He's extremely into the outdoors with camping and hiking. And then the adventurous part is he decided to marry my daughter, Kristin. And the last quality is that he's extremely romantic. And most romantics love music. So on or about a year and a half ago, Kristin invited me to her condominium with Brian, and Kristin was dying to take me up to her rooftop that she brags about so much. And, you know, you can see the city of Boston. Brian kind of took me into a side room in his den, and he said, "You like music, look at this." He had 45 singles that his father had given to him. And one of them was from a song from 1969 from Zegger and Evans called In the Year 2525. Well, Brian, your dad would be proud of you today in the year 2015. So if you put those adjectives together, benevolent, romantic, interesting, adventurous, and noble, Maureen, his mom, figured out that at an early age that they spell Brian, don't they? Okay, so here comes my hardest part. Kristin, I am so proud to have you as my daughter. You've come so far and made me so proud. I cannot tell you. Your ambition from the day that I dropped you off Roger Williams to the day you left Boston, or left to go to Boston to find a job without a job and make this your home, shows you embrace life and you don't squeeze it and hold on to it. I'm so proud of you. Your loyalty has been unbelievable to me personally, through thick and thin. You have been there for me. And I want to be there for you and Brian as a married couple. Those that don't know Kristin that well, she's a very, very high EQ. Her emotional intelligence is off the charts. She understands the unspoken. She gets it. She never needs to be center stage. But today, Kristin, you are, whether you like it or not. And actually, that was my speech, but I changed that after watching you dancing because that's not true. In closing, I think that what Kristin reminds me of is a story when she was a little young. We had an acclamation to always be part of Disney because we had a timeshare down in Orlando. And when Kristin and I were discussing the song that we would dance to, Kristin really didn't like the one I chose. But for those of you who know me, I have a way of getting my way. So the beauty of the lyrics that I'm going to read now in closing actually includes Brian. So let me read the lyrics of a Disney song that is my favorite. There's a time for everyone, if they can only learn that the twisting kaleidoscope moves us all in turn. There's a rhyme and reason to the wild outdoors when the heart of this wide-eyed warrior beats in time with yours. May your heart beat in time with Brian forever. Lord, bless this marriage.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the father of the bride, Peter Sposato, everybody.
I'd like to start by sharing a rather pithy little motto that appropriately sums up what I love most about Kristin. So some of you here may actually remember it. It goes back to a poster that she had hanging in her childhood bedroom at 7 Carriage Court. It was a photograph of a Dalmatian puppy. Do you remember? And instead of having your normal black spots, this particular dog was covered in neon spots of every color. And above his head, there was a headline that said, "Dare to be different." So there's a reason why this silly little poster stuck with me all these years later, and it's probably because it perfectly captures my sister's effortless self-confidence and fiercely independent spirit. Kristin's always been one to chart her own course, regardless of popular opinion, whether that be her shameless adolescent love of the Hanson brothers, or her decision to relocate to Boston after college without a job or any real anchor in this city. Chris, you've always been boldly unapologetic about the choices that you make. And now when I look around here tonight and see the happy and abundant life that you've carved out for yourself, I'm so proud of you. And candidly, I wish some of your fearlessness would rub off on me. I really admire you for that. So, many of you know that Kristin marched to the beat of her own drum from a very early age. And this is perhaps best evidenced by her rather unique food preferences as a child. So Chris was a notoriously finicky eater, and that meant that she really dug in her heels when it came to certain foods. I mean, I'm talking no seafood, absolutely no seafood. No exotic vegetables, and really no meat other than the delicacy that is chicken fingers. So growing up, Kristin's favorites were black olives by the fistful, grated Parmesan cheese right out of the container from the fridge, and potatoes. Brian knows this, lots of white potatoes in every shape and form. Quite the sophisticated palate. So you can imagine my surprise when Kristin reported back on her first date with Brian in 2009, and she casually mentioned that she had eaten some adventurous foods during dinner. I think it was some preparation of duck, and I was quite astonished at the time, and really it brought to life a whole new world opened up for Kristin once she and Brian started spending time together. I mean, she started eating things and boasting about them that you would never believe. I'm talking crazy stuff here like mushrooms and guacamole and even oysters. And now the funny part is she schools me on the etiquette for how you eat oysters. So needless to say, that's when I knew that she really liked this guy. And quickly it became apparent how sweeping Brian's influence on Kristin really was. So despite what Reverend Lynn said today about Kristin's physical fitness, she was never the most athletically inclined individual. The extent of her activity levels growing up was limited to the arm workouts that you would get scooping ice cream during your dedicated years of service at Dairy Queen. But all of a sudden, Brian came on the scene, and she would start accompanying him on these weekends up in Vermont snowboarding. Who knew Kristin could snowboard? And then this was soon followed by tales of like hiking, kayaking, snowshoeing, for crying out loud. And then a couple years ago, this is the kicker, Kristin went so far as to buy her own bright yellow bicycle so that they could go riding on a frequent basis. I mean, this is serious now, right? So the transformation was staggering. And that's when I knew it must take a pretty darn special person to make this kind of impact on my sister. Which, of course, brings me to you, Brian. So there's something really so easy and approachable about Brian that you instantly like him as soon as you meet him. He's fun-loving, he's laid back, he's quick to laugh at a joke, but at the same time, under the surface, there is a man who is incredibly responsible, patient as a saint, for crying out loud. He's selfless and considerate, and many of you know these qualities and have seen them evidenced in your own life. Brian, you've undoubtedly turned my sister into a more cultured and interesting person. She's now a devoted cat lover, thanks to you. She is a skilled sous chef who takes direction very well. But most importantly, you have embraced my sister for the dare to be different personality that she is at heart. And it has not gone unnoticed by myself or my family. How incredibly supportive and encouraging you are just to let Kristin be her darn self. And we thank you for that. So, it's no surprise that we should end up here tonight, right? The signs were all along. They were pointing to a truly special partnership that's based on mutual respect and an appreciation for the idiosyncrasies that make us who we are. It's been an honor for the past 6 years to watch your relationship blossom, and it's an even greater honor tonight to stand here and wish you all the best on this next phase of the journey together. I know it will be brimming with love and laughter and lots of adventure. I love you both dearly, and I ask that everyone raise their glass with me and toast to the newlyweds tonight, Kristin and Brian.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Everybody give it up for your maid of honor, Catherine.
Good evening, friends and family of the beautiful bride, Kristin, and the very lucky groom, Brian. It seems as though fate has brought us all here together tonight to celebrate this glorious occasion. I'm Ryan Hermasura. I've been given the honor of serving Brian as his best man. I've known him since 1995. That's 20 years. I'd like to give Kristin a little insight as to whom she's just married. An animal. But you already knew that. Instinctively, Brian works hard, but he also plays hard. And he lives hard. I've been a witness to that. I met Brian on a high school senior trip to Cancun. The very first time I met him, I was kicked out of my hotel and had to crash with him and his buddies. It was generous of him and his mates, but he was probably like, who the hell is this crazy Asian snoring on my floor? But we hit it off and hung out for the rest of that trip and have been friends ever since. Whenever you're hanging with spires, you're going to have an adventure. We were on a boat once, and this gets a little scary. It was Brian, Kevin, and myself on Long Island Sound in a little 17.5-foot bow rider, while Larry was alongside us on a jet ski. We were trying to cross over to Long Island from Connecticut. Like madmen we were. So out of nowhere, we got caught in a violent white squall. Hail came down, 20-foot waves flanked us from all sides. We were taking in water up to our waists. Larry disappeared with his jet ski behind rows upon rows of waves. We would go up these vertical waves, full throttle, hanging from the steering wheel. It was beyond scary. We were petrified. I turned to Brian and I said, I think we're gonna die. I looked at Kevin, he's shaking his head, and I looked back at Brian, and he's kind of just bobbing his head. We're hanging on for dear life, and he's just like going with the waves. He has the best poker face. There was no panic. He was just going with the flow with everything. In fact, it almost looked like he was dancing. He was tearing it up on our boat in 4 feet of water, hail, 20-foot waves. Larry's probably dead. This guy was unbelievable. Even in the face of death, the soundtrack in his head is still going. Metal, funk, and hip-hop all at the same time. Oh, I thought he was gonna bust out the electric slide. So as we get over another wave, he stops bobbing his head suddenly and goes to me. Yo. In the most calm, matter-of-fact kind of way. I have to take a piss. I was like, well, okay. I guess I have to go too. This is pretty intense. I turned to Kevin, he had to go as well. So in the middle of this near-death moment, hail, 20-foot waves, waist deep in water, Larry's probably dead. We all went in our pants. It was actually a huge relief. At that moment, the stress and fear of dying went away. It was almost laughable how unbelievable this situation was. Soon after that, the storm subsided, the skies cleared, and the waves calmed down to a placid glass. We were running on fumes at that point, but had just enough gas to make it to safe harbor. And we discovered Larry was not dead. So in all these years I've known Brian, he sticks by your side through thick and thin and can bring relief in the most intense moments. He's an honest, loyal, fun-loving human being, but with great Sorry, I lost my place. A fly flew in through my eye. Okay. Larry's alive. So he's an honest, loyal, fun-loving human being, but with great animal instincts to survive through anything and have the best time doing so. He's conquered so much adversity in his life with great success, which is what has brought him here today. I'm very happy and proud that he's found such a beautiful and loving woman to share his life with, surrounded by so much family and friends. It was all fate. Please, everyone, raise your glasses and hearts to Kristin and Brian and their glorious adventure ahead.
Everybody, give it up for Ryan. Make some noise for him. That's your best man on a fantastic speech. Give it up for him, everyone.